Who invited the poorest of the poor? That voice. I hadn't heard it in years, but I'd know it anywhere. It stabbed through the laughter like a knife, slicing the room in half. I turned slowly, and there she was, Heather, my ex-wife. The woman who left me with a note that said, "I deserve someone successful." Now she stood in front of me, in a blood-red dress that screamed for attention, with her hand resting on some guy's chest like a trophy she hadn't earned. The people around her were laughing, not because it was funny, but because she still knew how to manipulate a room. That smug, poisonous smile was exactly the same as the day she walked out of my life. I smiled back, calm, unshaken, because I'd been waiting for this moment. And right on cue, the ballroom doors opened. My assistant walked in, heels sharp, voice sharper. "Sir, your private jet is ready. The team in San Francisco is waiting." Silence. Complete, brutal silence. Wine glasses froze in midair. Jaws dropped. Every smirk on every face evaporated. And Heather looked like she'd just swallowed glass. You could almost hear the sound of her pride cracking. I walked past her slowly, savoring every second. But if you think this is a story about a man who got rich and got even, you're only half right. Because what came before this, the betrayal, the lies, the humiliation, that's what forged me. Let me take you back. Back to the night she left me. Back to when I was still nothing. Back to when her betrayal nearly destroyed me and unknowingly made me unstoppable. You ready? Because I promise you, this story doesn't end with a jet. It ends with 155 missed calls and a broken woman begging for the life she threw away. She left while I was away on a business trip. 3 days in Atlanta. That's all it was supposed to be. I was pitching to a small investor group, desperate to keep the dream alive. We were down to our last $1,000, and I hadn't paid rent in 2 months. The startup was hanging by a thread, and I thought if I could just close one deal, we'd survive. That night, after a long day of rejection and hopeful maybes, I opened my laptop in the hotel room. I had a message waiting. It wasn't long. No emotion. No punctuation. "I'm leaving. I found someone better. Don't come home." Just like that. No phone call. No explanation. No apology. She didn't even sign her name. I sat there staring at the screen, blinking, waiting for it to change, waiting for the punchline, for the joke to make sense. It never did. I called her. No answer. I called again. Then again. Then again. Nothing. When I got back to our apartment, half the furniture was gone. Her clothes, gone. Jewelry box, gone. Even my laptop charger was gone. But she left the framed photo of our wedding on the kitchen table, face down. Next to it, my wedding ring. And a receipt. A hotel room. 2 nights. Downtown. Booked under her name. I looked it up. It was the same weekend I stayed late working overnight shifts trying to keep our code base from collapsing. She was with him then. Whoever he was. I found his cologne on one of the throw pillows. A scent I'd never worn. I didn't need to imagine what happened on that couch. The stains were still there. It was more than betrayal. It was contempt. She didn't just leave me. She abandoned me like I was some failed bet. A scratch-off ticket that didn't hit. That week, I disappeared. I shut off my phone. Deleted social media. Moved into a single-room sublet with no kitchen. I lived off ramen and coffee and pure rage. Rage at her. Rage at myself. Rage at the world for letting people like her win. But I wasn't going to stay down. I got to work. Relentlessly. Obsessively. While she flaunted her new boyfriend online. A guy with a leased car and a motivational quote in his bio. I taught myself how to scale a backend server from scratch. I built product after product. Failed. Launched again. Failed harder. But every failure sharpened me. Burned away the weakness she always said defined me. "You'll never be successful," she once told me. "You're too soft. Too nice. Too hopeful. The world eats people like you." She was right about one thing. The world does eat people like me. Unless we learn to bite back. I found an investor 6 months later. Then another. Then one day, I woke up, checked my bank account, and for the first time in my life, there were more zeros than I could count without blinking. The business took off like a rocket. But I never reached out to her. Not once. I let her think she'd won. I let her live her little fantasy. Weekend brunches. Insta stories with fake smiles. Vacations paid with his money. A new car. A new life. She thought I was gone. Until that reunion. Until that ballroom. Until the moment my assistant called me sir and told me my private jet was waiting. I didn't need to scream. Or brag. Or throw it in her face. All I had to do was walk away and let her choke on everything she gave up. But the story doesn't end there. Because when I got back to the jet, I turned my phone on for the first time in hours. 155 missed calls from her, and one voicemail. A shaky voice. Please. I didn't know. I messed up. Just call me. Please. I didn't listen to the others. I didn't need to. The past was behind me. But the revenge? Oh, that was just getting started. She kept calling for days. Different numbers. Blocked once. Even had her sister message me on Instagram saying Heather wasn't doing well and needed closure. Closure? She slammed the door in my face and set the house on fire on her way out. Now she wanted closure? I ignored it. Until one day, I didn't. I was in New York, wrapping up a deal, when my assistant handed me an envelope. This came through the office, she said, looking confused. Hand-delivered. Inside was a letter. Handwritten. The loops in the letters were familiar. Heather's handwriting, slightly slanted, dramatic, like she was always performing, even on paper. I know I don't deserve this. But please hear me out. You were always the better person. I see that now. Greg ruined me. He drained me, lied to me, cheated on me with my friend. I have nothing. I made a mistake. The biggest mistake of my life. I think about you every day. I wish I could go back. I wish I never left. It ended with a number and the words, if you ever want to talk, please. I burned the letter. Not metaphorically. I literally lit it on fire in the hotel sink and watched it curl and blacken until it turned to ash. Then I turned on the tap and washed her words away. But that wasn't the end of it. 2 weeks later, I saw her. By accident. Or maybe not. I was in LA, walking out of a restaurant with 2 venture guys when I heard someone shout my name. I turned, and there she was. Heather. But not the Heather I remembered. Her makeup was smeared. Her dress was cheap and creased. Her heels were worn down. And her eyes, those once deadly, fire-filled eyes, were hollow. I've been trying to reach you, she said breathlessly, stepping toward me. One of the VCs asked, friend of yours? Something like that. I replied, cool as ice. She tried to smile, but it cracked. Can we just talk? 5 minutes. Please. I looked at her. Not with hate. Not with love. With clarity. You had everything, I said softly. Not just what I was building. You had my loyalty. My future. My respect. You left because you wanted someone finished. Not someone growing. But guess what? I leaned in, close enough for only her to hear. Now I'm finished. And you're done. She stood there, stunned, speechless. I work nights now, she muttered, almost defensively. I'm not doing great. I nodded. Yeah, I know. And I walked away. The best revenge is not a yacht. Not a jet. Not even the money. It's peace. It's silence. It's the fact that she wakes up every morning knowing she bet against the wrong man. And lost everything. But don't worry, there's more. Because I thought the story was over. I thought the chapter was closed. Until I saw her name again. This time, not in a letter, but in a lawsuit. Turns out, Heather wanted a piece of the pie she didn't bake. Turns out, she never really left. She was waiting, scheming. And what she tried next. That was the final straw. The envelope was thick. Official. Gold-trimmed, even. The kind of paper meant to intimidate. I opened it casually, sitting in my office, 15 floors above downtown. My assistant had already flagged it as interesting. And she was right. Inside, a formal letter from a law firm representing. Guess who? Heather Lynn Evans. My ex-wife. Apparently, she was filing a claim against me. On what grounds? Unfair enrichment during the marriage period and contribution to early business development. I laughed out loud. Actually laughed. She had contributed exactly 3 things during that time. Insults, debts, and dirty laundry. She wasn't there during the endless 2 a.m. breakdowns. She wasn't there when I maxed out 3 credit cards just to keep the server alive. She was out clubbing with Greg while I was sleeping on an air mattress in a roach-infested studio. But now she wanted a cut? It was bold. I'll give her that. Delusional, but bold. I called my lawyer. Rob, a shark in human skin. He read it silently, then said, she's bluffing. Let me handle this. But just a heads up, she's trying to get under your skin. She won't, I said. But the truth is, she already had. Not because of the money. I had more than I could spend in 3 lifetimes. It was the principle. She left me in the dirt, laughed at me in public, tried to humiliate me in front of everyone. Now, she wanted to pretend she'd helped build my life? No. So we fought back. Not loudly. Not dramatically. We sent a single letter back, 4 lines. No assets were shared. No contributions were made. Discovery is welcome. Good luck proving otherwise. And that was it. She didn't respond. Not at first. But I knew Heather. She never quits while she's ahead. Mostly because she never knows when she's lost. A few days later, I saw her name trending on Facebook. Photos from a small diner in some dusty corner of Nevada. Her in a faded apron, taking orders from a table of high school kids. Someone had posted a caption. Didn't this woman used to be, like, rich? Comments flooded in. Some recognized her. Some mocked her. Some defended her. But one thing was clear. Her fall from grace was public, and it was ugly. I didn't repost. I didn't comment. I just watched. And I'll admit it, I felt something. Not joy. Not satisfaction. Pity. But even that was short-lived. Because a week later, my phone rang. Blocked number. I never answer those. But something made me tap, accept. It was her. Her voice was shaky. Weaker. Slower. She spoke like a person who had nothing left to lose. Please, just listen. I didn't mean for things to go this far. I said nothing. I miss who we were. I was stupid. I thought I was trading up, but he hit me. Greg. He ruined everything. He left me with debt. With bruises. I'm alone. Still, I said nothing. I see you everywhere now. On magazines. Podcasts. Billboards. I can't escape you. And I'm glad. I really am. I waited a beat. Then answered. You told me once I'd never be successful. I didn't mean it, she whispered. Yes, you did, I replied. And you were right. Back then, I wasn't. But you gave me the pain I needed to become something more. You broke me. And I'm grateful for that. Silence. Then a soft, pathetic, do you think we could meet? Just talk. No. I hung up. And this time, it felt final. Not because I'd won. Not because she'd lost. But because I finally understood something I hadn't before. Sometimes, the worst thing that ever happens to you is the best thing that ever happens to you. And sometimes, the person who tries to bury you is the one who plants you. A month passed. I didn't hear from her again. No calls. No letters. No surprise visits. For a while, I thought maybe that was it. Maybe she'd finally understood that the chapter was closed. That I wasn't her lifeline anymore. That I wasn't going to save her from the mess she created. Until I got a call from my old high school friend, Darren. Dude, he said, voice low, almost apologetic. You're not going to believe this. What? Heather's working at that little dive bar out near 85th. You know, the one with the busted neon sign and sticky floors. I said nothing. She's been telling people you ruined her life. That you manipulated her. Left her with nothing. I laughed once. Quietly. That's rich. Oh, it gets better, he said. She said you owe her. That she was with you when you were nobody, and that she sacrificed her prime years for your dream. I could picture it. Her at the bar, cigarette in one hand, bitterness in the other, spinning stories for tips. Warping the past to make herself the victim. Painting me as the villain. She always was good at that. Rewriting the truth into a drama where she cried on cue. But the worst part? People believed her. Some of them, at least. Old classmates. Distant relatives. Even a few mutual friends who hadn't seen me in years. They started messaging me. Weird, passive-aggressive things like, I never knew what you did to her was that bad. Or everyone makes mistakes. Maybe give her a chance. I could have fought back publicly. Posted screenshots. Emails. The receipts. Hell, I could have dropped the hotel bookings with Greg's name on them. But I didn't. Instead, I sent her one final message. Not by text. Not a call. I had it hand-delivered. Inside a small, plain envelope was a single item. A photocopy of the prenup. Signed. Dated. Ironclad. We'd barely had anything back then, but I made her sign it anyway. She didn't care at the time. She was already halfway out the door, just hadn't told me yet. Beneath the copy, I added one line. You lost me the second you bet against me. This is the last time your name will ever be in my head. Good luck, Heather. I don't know what she did after that. Don't care. What I do know is this. The smear campaign stopped. The calls ended. The whispers went quiet. She faded. And I lived. That's the thing they never tell you. Revenge isn't fire and fury. It's not screaming at someone or ruining their life in some grand public spectacle. It's silence. It's peace. It's waking up every morning with no anger, no weight on your chest, no urge to look back. It's the quiet knowing that you won. Not because you hurt them, but because you healed, and they didn't. Heather taught me everything I needed to become the man I am now. Not because she supported me, not because she loved me, but because she didn't. Because she walked out. Because she spit on my name and thought it would stain me forever. But it didn't. It washed off. And what was left underneath was solid steel. It was around that time I started sleeping again. Not the light, twitchy, hyper-vigilant sleep I'd grown used to over the years. Real sleep. Deep. Quiet. Dreamless. The kind you only get when your mind has nothing left to fight. I'd won. But not the way people imagine victory. It wasn't the money. Wasn't the jet. Not even the silence from her side. It was the way I stopped needing to explain myself. The way I stopped rehearsing speeches in the mirror, thinking of all the things I could have said to make her regret it sooner. I didn't need to prove anything to her anymore. Or anyone, really. And then something strange happened. I got an invitation. A small envelope, black and gold. Expensive paper. No return address. Just my name, written in that overly neat script rich people use when they want to feel like royalty. Inside, an invitation to a black-tie charity gala. For an organization I used to dream of donating to back when I could barely afford toilet paper. Funny how things come full circle. I RSVP'd yes. I wore a tuxedo custom-made in Milan, the kind that fits you like a secret. My date that night. Elena, a woman I met on a panel in Singapore. Smart, sharp, real. She knew everything about my past, and none of it scared her. The gala was full of familiar faces. Bankers, founders, investors. Some people who had once ignored my calls were now offering their cards like candy. I shook hands, smiled, did the dance. Then I saw her. Heather. I almost didn't recognize her at first. Her hair was darker, her skin a little more tired. She wore a green dress that probably looked better on the hanger. She was with a man I didn't know, gray-haired, stiff, wearing a suit 2 sizes too big. A finance guy, maybe. Or just someone who could pay for valet. Our eyes met across the room. Just for a second. And that second said everything. No smirk. No bitterness. Just realization. It hit her, right there, surrounded by people who used to laugh at my dreams, that she was the one who gave up everything. She started walking toward me. I turned to Elena and whispered, "Excuse me for just a minute." Heather reached me as I was halfway to the terrace. "I wasn't expecting to see you here," she said softly. I nodded once. Life's full of surprises. She tried to smile. It didn't land. "You look well." I didn't return the compliment. "I heard about your company. The merger. The fund. Congratulations." "Thanks," I said. She shifted her weight, looking everywhere but at me. "I've been trying to make things work. Different city now. Starting over. That's good." Silence. Then, almost a whisper, "Do you ever miss us?" I studied her face. For a moment, the old pain flickered. The nights I stared at an empty bed. The mornings I drank stale coffee alone. The way it felt to be abandoned when I was already drowning. Then I blinked. And it was gone. "No," I said. "I don't miss people who bet against me." Her eyes dropped. "I wish I'd seen it then," she murmured. "What you were building. Who you were becoming." "You didn't want to see it," I said. "You wanted it already finished." She looked like she wanted to say more. Maybe she'd rehearsed it in the mirror. Maybe she had a whole speech tucked behind her tongue. But I wasn't interested. "I should get back," I said. And I walked away. Not out of spite. Out of peace. That was the last time I saw her. No drama. No screaming. Just a woman standing still in a room full of people moving forward. And me, finally walking away for good. It's strange how quiet the end feels. Not triumphant. Not explosive. Just quiet. Like walking out of a storm and realizing the sun's been up the whole time. You just couldn't see it through the mess. After that gala, I never heard from her again. No more calls. No more letters. No lawsuits. No passive-aggressive messages through friends. Just silence. And that silence was beautiful. I kept building. Expanded the company. Started mentoring kids who reminded me of who I used to be. Broke, hungry, tired, but still somehow hopeful. I invested in people who stayed when things got hard. I created teams with loyalty, with grit, with the kind of fire Heather never understood. My parents? They used to worry about me. Now they brag about me. My dad once called me the storm that never gave up. I like that. Elena and I, well, we built something real. Not flashy, not perfect, but strong. Because she met me after the fire and loved what the fire had shaped. But sometimes, in rare moments, late at night, on long flights, or when a certain song plays. I remember the version of myself she left behind. The man curled up on that couch, rereading her message like it was written in a language he didn't understand. The guy who believed that love was enough. And I don't hate him. I respect him. Because without that pain, without that betrayal, without her, there would be no me. There would be no Jet, no empire, no peace. And that's what I've learned. Sometimes, the people who break you are just tools in your evolution. Sometimes, heartbreak is the training ground for greatness. So if you're in the middle of it right now, if someone left you broken, bleeding, confused, thinking you'll never recover, remember this. The man she left for dead became the man she couldn't reach. And the door she slammed shut behind her, it didn't end me. It freed me. Forever.